just a little bit for the picture. Okay, see, there's the... Because we lent him the thing, he wanted his picture taken.
You did it in black and white?
It's in color, but it shows back here.
But that's right.
All right, we're recording now. This is Bill Stowe, and I'm up working on this tape for the NAAO and for all the use of all the coaches of the United States in a similar manner. That won't bother us, Harry. In a similar manner to the tapes we've done since 1971. The date is August 5th, approximately 4 weeks before this national 8 that you will soon see competes in Bled, Yugoslavia for the World Championships. Just while we're in the process of getting the boat on the water, I would like to mention that this tape, in addition to about 10 others, are available through the NAAO for a very minimal rental for reproduction and for use in any way that any coaches in the country feel can help them. I would suggest that in use of we will have this voiceover, which can be instructional, but after you've seen it once, perhaps you want to turn the sound off and just use the rowing to show your oarsmen what you'd like. You have permission to duplicate this tape in any way that you would like, and you also have, I'd like to point out that the strokes that you see, you can use your stroke watch to see what they're rowing. It will be sync with, unlike a movie, it'll be in sync. So if they're at the end where it appears they're rowing 37, they are in fact rowing 37. With me is Harry Parker, whose crew you will soon see on the water as they're leaving to go. And Harry is coached. I don't think I need to say anything about Harry. Everyone knows his record at Harvard and with the national team in previous years. And I guess the best performance would have to go back to the 1972 Olympics with the silver medal, which was indeed a great boat. Harry, I'd like to maybe have you give a brief rundown of the people in the boat from the bow to the stern. I don't know if it can be as you see them, but perhaps just mention their names and a little bit about where they're from. Incidentally, we do keep this very informal because we're not professional and we want it to be just fairly friendly tape. And Harry, as you see these people, perhaps you can just point out the boat that you will be taking with you to Bled.
Be happy to do that, Bill. These are not close-ups, so you won't get their faces right away, but during the course of the row you will. The bow in the crew is Bill Purdy from Syracuse. Has just graduated. You're now actually seeing the national team quad paddling down for the beginning of their workout. 2 in the 8 is John Biglow, who's just completed his junior year at Yale. He stoked the Yale varsity this year. Number 3 is Charlie Altekruse, who just completed his junior year at Harvard. Number 4 is Mike Hess, who rowed at the University of Washington, graduated in '78. 5 is Tom Woodman from Oregon State University, prior to that Connecticut College. 6 is Otto Stekle, who was rowed at the University of Pennsylvania. Last season that he raced there, I think, was '78. 7 is Chip Lubesn from Cornell, graduated from Cornell in '78. And the stroke is Bruce Ibbetson, who rowed at the University of California at Irvine in the last couple of summers out of the Penn Elite Center in Philadelphia. Coxswain is Bob Jaugstetter from lots of places, mostly Vesper, I guess, but most recently he's coaching at Wichita State, and he's been the coxswain of the national team the past 2 years.
Harry, maybe this is quite a long tape, and I'm sure our voice part won't go as long as the tape. Maybe you can give somewhat of a rundown, and we'll be talking over the picture, but of what the crew did today for a practice. It'll be a little hard to sync exactly what you're seeing, what the viewer is seeing with what Harry's about to tell you they did, but maybe he can give just a brief idea of what this incredibly difficult practice was today.
Well, I didn't think it was incredibly difficult. It was fairly long and fairly hard. We just completed some work the last couple of days at higher cadence, and we've been a little bit careful about introducing a volume of work at racing cadence, and so this morning we went back down to doing some work at some pieces at less than full power, then a few longer pieces at full power, but at less than full racing cadence. It actually covered about 14 miles. The first half of which was broken up into stretches of 3, 4, 5 minutes of anywhere from half up to 3/4 power. The last half of the workout was 3, 4, 5 minute pieces, but at full power, starting at 31 strokes a minute, and the last piece we did was a 3-minute piece at 37 strokes a minute. And by that time, the crew allowed us how they were pretty tired.
This being an off day with only one row today, maybe you could just touch on some of the different rows that they have been going through. I guess the seat racing has occupied most of the time, but now that you have a crew selected, what do you anticipate a mix of long and short rows you can have, just so that some of the people watching this tape will have an idea of what you'll be doing in the next couple of weeks?
Let me just review a little bit what we have done, which sort of gives you some background for the work that we will be doing. Initially when we came here, most of the rowing was at less than full power, relatively long workouts, 8 to 10 to 12 miles, with a fair amount of work at half to 3/4 power. Then once we got into the heart of the selection process, we began to do pieces at full power, but we did them at less than normal racing cadence, so that the caliber of the rowing would be good. We didn't want to get people too frantic or so tired during the pieces that they couldn't continue to maintain good rowing form. So most of the seat racing we did was at 32 to a maximum of 34 strokes a minute, and we lengthened the pieces enough so that people wouldn't be quite as inclined to scramble 4 or 5 minute pieces. Occasionally we did some 6-minute pieces. Early on, the maximum workout of that would be like 5-minute pieces. For the most part, we got into them, they were on the order of 3 or 4 or 5-minute pieces, or 3 or 4 4-minute pieces. What we're doing now, having completed a couple weeks of that kind of work, which is obviously pretty heavy work, we're doing a fair amount of work at less than full power, getting people just to really row the boats carefully together. Some fairly long stretches at 2/3 to 3/4 power. The 8 has done a couple of workouts where we went about 18 minutes. We did one a couple of days ago where we went for 32 minutes nonstop at a good strong 3/4 power. What we will be doing now is a fair amount of work at racing cadence, short pieces initially, to make sure people have a really good feel for rowing the boat well at the higher cadence and have a good sense of the speed that we want to achieve, and then we'll extend those to 500s and thousands, minute and a half, 2 minutes, on up to 3 minutes. The other workouts primarily will be longer work at less than full cadence. We'll probably get away from the kind of work we did this morning, which was intermediate, both in length and in cadence.
I think that gives everyone a good idea of what is happening. The trends seem to be changing from an awful lot of sprint to a little more distance. I would just maybe, to get off a little bit today, there's a couple of things I'd like to touch on. One, we were talking when your crew was going to Mexico about altitude, and everybody was working at different altitude camps, and then they continued that, some of the people, through Munich, but there's been very little talk of it since. What are your attitudes? Was that just a craze, or is that something that we can't afford, or do you have any indication that the European crews are still working at altitude camps?
I guess I'm not familiar with what the Europeans are doing regularly. The West Germans, as far as I know, have still maintained their training camps in Austria, and I wouldn't be surprised what the East Germans have done so as well. A number of them continued after Mexico City. Obviously, for Mexico City, you had to do altitude training. You had to get some experience and prepare the crews for racing there. A number of people thought that kind of training would continue to be beneficial even for racing at sea level. and that's part of the reason that we did it in '72. Our experience there suggested that it didn't make a significant difference. It didn't hurt us, but neither did it give us any particular advantage. And that being the case, I'm not sure that it's been justified to try to go to the expense of finding either a place here in the States or elsewhere to do that training. But I don't know whether that's true with the other countries, what their feelings are on that matter.
If I can touch just for a minute on equipment, these are questions that perhaps people, in looking at this tape, would have. You're rowing here today with a Schoenbrod boat and Croker oars, yet yesterday you were rowing with fiberglass oars, and tomorrow who knows what. I guess my initial impression was that you put a fairly low value on the equipment, not a value, but an importance at this time, and maybe I'd like just a comment as to, this is reassuring, I think, to the people that are stuck with certain kinds of equipment, that maybe it is the men more than going out and spending all this money on radically new equipment. Maybe you could just touch on what you think you'll finally come to and what you're modifying with in these workouts as we go on today.
Well, we'll be using, over in Europe, we'll be using an Empocker 8. It'll be a wooden hull, and it'll be a fairly conventional boat. The reason, I think, the primary reason that's been bought by the Olympic Committee, is that the crews have had success with the Empockers over recent years. The crews have felt really comfortable in them, and we feel confident about the workmanship of the Empocker people. But you're right. I mean, it's not that I don't think the equipment is important. It quite clearly is. You want to have the best equipment available, but the differences in equipment are not nearly as important as the differences in the people in the boat and how they row. As long as you have good equipment and it's in good condition, and so that the oarsmen are able to row their best, by then the differences are not very critical. We've changed a little bit from the Kevlar oars here to the wood, partly because the Kevlar oars are pretty light, and it makes it a little more difficult to handle the boat, and we want to work with the wooden oars for a little while to give the crew a real sense of steadiness and let them work on their rowing.
There are a couple of other things I wanted to touch on. I think we're all familiar, if the people that saw the older tapes, on your selection methods and how you have arrived at this crew. But I'd like to maybe touch on something, a difference in your coaching style and some of the others, and I would guess most radically different might be Al Rosenberg's. Today, there was absolutely no attempt to do any of what Al used to popularize as various drills for various things, and I was just curious whether it's because of the nature of this particular workout, or whether you just don't believe in drills and just good solid rowing. I might be interested in not necessarily picking your brain for what drills you do, but why there was a lack of any type of a warm-up drill or any type of stretching. At least I didn't see it.
Right. Well, actually, the oarsmen do a fair amount of stretching on their own before they get on the water. I think the value of the stretching has been pretty well accepted, and most programs have it, and the oarsmen have gotten into certain routines, and they've been encouraged to do that. I haven't prescribed a specific set of exercises for them. As far as the drills, I think it doesn't really amount to a drill. The only thing that we do early in the workout, we do some workout by fours, and we make some of that fairly hard as a way of making sure that they get a good sense of muscular power and of getting the muscles fully geared to doing some hard work. But I don't use other sort of technique drills very often. What I tend to do when I want to get people to change technique is to let them row at either a firm paddle, which is maybe somewhat less than half power or half power, and then work with them while they're at that pace to change their rowing. And I've just come to feel more comfortable coaching people that way, rather than trying to get them to do things through specific drills.
Last summer I had the occasion to be out in the West Coast, and I stopped by and visited the man that I've respected more than anyone else in coaching, Joe Burke. And in talking about different coaches and different styles, Joe mentioned that he thought he was always very impressed with you, Harry, because of your attention to detail and taking very accurate notes on each practice and keeping a logbook, which is something that I have found relatively. I found it just about impossible to do because I'm lazy and I find it hard. But I would just. It was Joe's opinion that this is one of the things that made you stand out from a lot of other coaches, and I just would like if you can share either what you do or how it might help some of younger coaches like myself in keeping records and how you use them, the past records.
Well, I don't know as I'm as meticulous as some people about that actually, but I have kept a log of almost all the rowing or coaching that I've done, the workouts that I've done in various forms. But I think the only area that I really concentrate on is when in those logs is I actually try to describe the nature of the rowing that is being done and what actually happens in competitive pieces with the crews. So I don't just have a record of how many miles they rowed or how many pieces they did, but what kind of rowing and to put some comments about my own feeling about what has happened. And every now and then, I'll get a little inspiration about what the particular effect of a certain training cycle has been, and I'll make a notation of that, and that is useful. And I refer to the logs fairly regularly from year to year as a guide to what has and hasn't worked well in the past. And even looking over the notes that I've put down as about what might be changed and why it ought to be changed.
I'm just again curious. I've been wanting to ask this since I talked to Joe last year, and this is about the only chance I can really pin you down. Would you just in writing those? Do you do them immediately after the workout, or how do you regiment yourself to doing it? Because that's important. Because I find that if I let it go for a couple of days, I can't even remember what I was thinking.
As a rule, I do it either immediately after or that evening. During seat racing, I actually take notes on what's taking place during the workout. I don't wait until after the workout is over for those.
Before I have you, or maybe I could tie this in with having you look at the tapes and point out what you're seeing, just so some people can, the people watching this can get an idea of what you're looking for when you're out coaching. Perhaps maybe you could compare the way you think our crews are rowing to the way the East German crews might be rowing. I realize you haven't not been the national coach the last couple of years, but as you recall, and we all know of their success, and how do you think we're comparing with them in our style? Maybe I can let you take a look at the monitor and just kind of comment perhaps at what you're seeing.
Well, that's not really easy. I have a fairly distinct impression of how the East Germans row, and I, like I guess almost anybody else, am pretty impressed with that. There's considerable uniformity in what they do. There's excellent attention to both the blade work and the body control. I don't know that we're rowing very much differently from what they do. We probably, the blade work, I think we probably square the blades a little bit earlier. We're probably not quite as controlled at the release as they are. In terms of the inboard, I think we come reasonably close to having the legs and back tied together the way they do, except that I think they emphasize a little bit more drawing the shoulders down toward the knees and stretching when they come forward. If you watch them row, they seem to have a fairly low profile in the boat, and for the most part, I don't think our crews do that. Certainly, we don't emphasize it as much as the East Germans seem to. The thing that the one characteristic of the East Germans that I'm quite impressed with is that the legs and back are tied very well together, and they work well together throughout the stroke. And that's one area where this particular crew, at least, I think, does well. I think that all of the people in the boat have a good strong connection between the legs and the back. They use both throughout the stroke, and they get a good sense of acceleration. If anything, this particular group has more acceleration with the back and in the arms at the end of the stroke, and I think it's going to be one of the strengths of the crew. It's going to, I think, enable them to get very close to maximum speed out of the boat. We're looking at them now doing some work at, I think, just a little bit less than full power, probably about close to 3/4 power. And we're looking at the stern pair, stern 3 or 4, all of whom do a very good job of opening up strongly with the backs while the legs are driving down. And the stroke and 7, in fact, also come in with a little extra acceleration with the arms right at the finish of the stroke. And that helps give the boat a good acceleration, and it gives also can impart a nice rhythm when they start to move out of bow. There's a little more of a close-up of Bruce Ibbetson doing that, and now they've gone onto the paddle so that you don't pick it up quite so readily. Anyway, that's one feature of most of the people in this boat that impresses me, and it's one that we're going to try to take advantage of in the next few weeks as we get ready to race. Now looking at John Biglow from Yale, and we're working here. We've been working with John to maintain a level draw with his arms. He has tended to break his arms a little bit too early and to get a little bit too much up and down motion during the drive, and we're watching here to make sure that he's keeping the arms coming in level, and in fact he's doing a pretty good job of it today.
John, is that your plate making that noise, the catch? Good, man. Good on the gate, that's good. Port side, that's right. Right around. Good, Otto. Yeah, nice plate. Nice turning around, hook and on. Good. That's all right on the timing, John. That's good. All right, nice. Keep it moving now. Nice start. Good. Charlie, a little bit late. Okay, that's good. Stay with it now. Bring up on 2 minutes. Keep it moving. Last 20. Starboard, that's coming, that's coming. Get around. Alright, that's good. 2 minutes into it. Keep it right moving now. Good? Pick up the rhythm, stay with it. Otto, just a little bit short then, a little bit short. Let that, at the reach, let that shoulders turn around. Be sure that seat comes all the way up. Don't be too eager to stop and drive that back. Let it come right up. Give yourself a chance to get around and drop the blade in. Ball 8, make sure you keep that feeling, allowing that seat to come right up there, allowing yourself to swing around and hook on. Not trying to jump onto it. Let the blade get around and hook, and then just drive it through. Good acceleration all the way through. Let's go for 2 minutes, that same case, at 35. And Josh, you time, and I'm going to stay behind the pairs here. You ready to put the piece? I'll wait. Look ahead! Piece. So the 3 minutes, we're right at 37. We're going to keep it right there. I get that down around 36 at the end then, Doc? Okay. All right, let's get it up. Get right on it. See if we can get that thing swinging and maintain it right through. Masthead!
What's that? It's fine. Up a little bit.
keep up with them. On the side of the double now?